I'd like to thank our reader, Marie May, this week for the wonderful reading. She's such a gifted reader. And I'd also like to thank Gary Lynn Floyd, Karen Drucker, and our CSL music team for the beautiful music that supports the message. Today we continue our 2023 spiritual journey and our series on life, love, and the pursuit of happiness according to the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse. And we're exploring compassion and empathy. This is week 7 of our 14-week series, so we're only halfway through. So like the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse, allow yourself time to discover who you are, what has meaning to you, and where your home lies. Remember that each week is independent, and today you can walk away with some tools to delve deeper into understanding your life and how you might more often be compassionate and empathetic. So here's your question for the week. What is the one choice you might make today to be compassionate, to notice how you are reacting to things, and to support others while knowing their wholeness? One more time. What is the one choice you might make today to be compassionate, to notice how you are reacting to things, and to support others while knowing their wholeness? An important theme in our book is compassion and empathy. The mole encourages the boy to open his heart to others and to be empathetic towards their struggles. He teaches the boy that compassion is about seeing the world from someone else's perspective, and that it's only by understanding and caring for others that we can truly connect with them. I'll get back to our friends in just a minute. Compassion and empathy are truly twin pillars that have the potential to revolutionize our world and elevate humanity to new heights of understanding and unity. The Dalai Lama beautifully expressed it this way: compassion is the radicalism of our time. Compassion naturally creates a positive atmosphere, and as a result, you feel peaceful and content. When we have compassion, we're acknowledging the interconnectedness of all living beings. Compassion is actually the heart's response to the suffering and to the joys of others, a force that transcends race, nationality, even our beliefs. Compassion calls us to acknowledge that shared human experience and recognize that each of us carries within us hopes, fears, dreams. Imagine a world where compassion flowed like a river, nourishing the roots of our collective existence. A world where individuals and communities came together to support and uplift one another. A world where no one feels abandoned or alone in their struggles. Now that's the world I want to live in. How about you? So the talk is about compassion and empathy. Compassion actually ignites the flame of empathy. It's the ability to put ourselves in another's shoes and truly understand their perspective. Empathy is the compass that guides us through that labyrinth of human emotions, and it allows us to forge genuine connections with other people. When we embrace compassion and empathy, we become healers of the human heart. We offer solace to those who are hurting. We lend strength to those who are weary. And we sow seeds of hope in the darkest corners of those in despair. We have a phrase in the educational system, no child left behind. Imagine if we incorporated a phrase in our society, no one left behind. In this imaginary world where compassion and empathy permeate every aspect of society, conflicts would be resolved through understanding and dialogue. Differences would be celebrated as sources of strength. And indeed, no one would be left behind. I sure would love to make that world a reality. Compassion and empathy transcend cultural languages and borders. They create a common language of love and of understanding. They unite us in our shared humanity. They're the keys that unlock the doors to unity and to harmony, and they pave the way for a world that's built on mutual respect and on cooperation. As we cultivate compassion and empathy within ourselves, we can create a ripple effect that extends far beyond our immediate circle. Our actions have the power to touch lives, to spark change, to inspire a domino effect of compassion and empathy throughout the world. Mahatma Gandhi said, "Compassion is a muscle that gets stronger with use." Let me repeat that. Compassion is a muscle that gets stronger with use. So perhaps instead of, or maybe in addition to, going to the gym to exercise and increase our muscles, we might choose to exercise compassion and empathy so that they blossom within us, so that they get stronger because we're using that emotional muscle. And I've observed that compassion actually can flourish, and it does have a ripple effect, and it inspires others to follow suit. There are numerous stories about compassion in the news, and not all of them are about huge gestures, but each one shows caring. There was a young lady who lost her father's ashes, and a stranger dug through trash for 4 hours to find them for her. There was the wedding where the dad pulled in the stepdad so that they could both walk their daughter down the aisle. Just this past month, there was a do-good fest in Vermont, and it raised nearly $1.5 million after the historic flooding occurred. There was a firefighter who raised the little girl who was abandoned in a Florida rescue station. There was a farmer who put a sickly leopard on his motorbike and carried it to Florida officials where it could be healed. Then there was a 69-year-old woman who stopped a bank robbery with words of kindness. There was the worker who helped an elephant be able to walk again by creating a prosthetic foot out of recycled tires and tow truck fittings. Animals often also show compassion. There was a German shepherd who became a surrogate dad to abandoned ducklings. And I suspect you remember me telling you about the dog who had the kittens to lunch when the kittens lost their mother. I can go on, and it's heartwarming to see how many acts of compassion and empathy exist. We can just open our eyes and notice them. I did a series a while back on Dalai Lama's book, The Art of Happiness, and there was a quote that truly impacted me. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Happiness and compassion are directly related. I suspect we all know we feel happier when we receive or give compassion. It is uplifting. So let's get back to our friends in the book who provide us with beautiful reminders that compassion and empathy are key to living a fulfilling and happy life. A couple weeks ago, I told you about the mole, a wise and gentle creature, and he was telling the boy,
one of our greatest freedoms is how we react to things.
With those simple words, the mole teaches the boy an important lesson about life. And his words are a powerful reminder of the things that truly matter. Compassion and empathy are all about how we react to things. Rather than judging, we see things from a different perspective. Compassion is essential for building strong, meaningful relationships with others. And the mole is quite the philosopher when he later tells the boy, the greatest illusion is that life should be perfect. I suspect we can all relate to that, life not being perfect, which is why it is so important to be able to show compassion and be empathetic when either we or our friends hit those times of life of imperfection. It's especially important to be compassionate to ourselves when we might easily go down that rabbit hole of whatever mistake we made or where we failed short of perfection. By treating ourselves with gentleness and understanding, we can radiate that same compassion out into the world, making a difference in the lives of those we encounter. We see the mole being compassionate in the scene where the boy is looking at what he believes is one of his own imperfections. The boy says, "Sometimes I worry you'll all realize I'm ordinary." And the mole responds, "Love doesn't need you to be extraordinary." I'm sure the boy was comforted by those words. Through compassion, we become mirrors for each other's emotions, reflecting back love and understanding and acceptance. In a world that can often be harsh and unforgiving, when we extend compassion to others, we create a safe space for them to heal and for them to grow and to find hope, even in the darkest of times. It's only by truly understanding and caring for others that we can build a better world. And that reminds me another quote of the Dalai Lama's from The Art of Happiness. Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. Without compassion and love, humanity cannot survive. We see the boy being compassionate at the very beginning of our book. The mole says, "I'm so small." And the boy responds, "Yes, but you make a huge difference." Throughout the book, the boy learns to be empathetic towards others, to listen to their needs, to support them in their struggles, to put himself in other people's shoes, and to see the world from their perspective. I was talking with someone about this topic, and we got into a conversation about compassion versus sympathy. And while many equate the two, they are distinctly different emotions. True, both of these emotions involve caring for others in times of difficulty or distress, but they differ in their underlying perspectives and responses. As we've been discussing, compassion is a deep and genuine concern for the well-being of others, stemming from a place of understanding and empathy. When we feel compassion for someone, we not only recognize their pain and suffering, we also seek to understand their feelings and experiences on a profound level. So compassion often leads to a desire to take action and alleviate that suffering in that person. And it's driven by a genuine sense of a desire to help.
Lemon drizzle. This is quite a hill.
Is this better?
Oh. Well, I don't want to be too much trouble.
It's okay.
Oh, well, thank you.
This gesture by the boy, though it may seem small, shows compassion. Yes, the boy could have just been sympathetic to the mole's struggle to move up the hill, and he was moved to help and pick up the mole and make it easy for him. This is a great illustration of compassion versus sympathy. Sympathy acknowledges another person's pain or hardship, but it's from a more distant or detached perspective. Had the boy merely said, "Yes, it's a long way," that would have been sympathy. While sympathy can convey kindness and concern, it doesn't necessarily involve the same level of emotional involvement as compassion does. Sympathy involves perhaps feeling sorry for someone, maybe even acknowledging their struggle, but it may not necessarily lead to a strong desire to take action or to deeply connect with that person. For example, we express sympathy for someone whose loved one has passed when we say, "I'm sorry for what you're experiencing," or "I know you're going through a difficult time." Sympathy becomes compassion when we take the time later to check in on them and see how they're doing. When we truly observe if there's something that we can do to ease them through their time of grief. Compassion might look like a phone call a month or two afterwards when others are going about their own lives and the person is still grieving, but now without much support. Once upon a time, in a bustling city, there was a little girl named Emmy who was known for her kind heart and compassionate nature. Every day as she walked to school, she noticed an elderly man sitting on a bench in the park, and he looked lonely and forlorn. So curious and concerned, one day she approached the man. She greeted him with a warm smile and said, "I'm Emmy." His name was Mr. Thompson, and he had recently lost his wife of 50 years. Emmy could see the sadness in his eyes and felt a pang of empathy in her heart. So as the days passed, she continued to stop by, and she struck up a friendship with Mr. Thompson. They would meet in the park and share stories. Sometimes they would just sit together in silence, offering each other that gift of companionship. Emmy learned about Mr. Thompson's life, his dreams, and the beautiful love story he had shared with his late wife. One chilly morning, Emmy noticed that Mr. Thompson seemed especially downhearted. She asked if he was okay, and he shared that it was the anniversary of his wife's passing, and it was making him particularly melancholic. Emmy's heart went out to him, and she knew she wanted to do something special to ease this sorrow. So later that day, she visited a nearby flower shop and carefully selected a bouquet of what she had learned in their talks was his wife's favorite flowers, a mix of red roses and daisies. She also picked up a heartwarming card with a heartfelt message that conveyed how much she appreciated their friendship. And the next morning, Emmy surprised Mr. Thompson with the bouquet and the card. Needless to say, his eyes welled up with tears of gratitude and happiness. That simple act of compassion brought a ray of sunshine into his life, and it brightened the gloomy day and lifted his spirits. From that day on, Emmy continued to visit Mr. Thompson regularly, and she became a source of joy and of comfort for him, reminding him he wasn't alone, and his wife's memory would always be cherished. Their bond grew stronger, and Emmy even encouraged Mr. Thompson to share his love story with others. As he spoke about that deep love and connection that he shared with his wife, he found healing and reminiscing about the beautiful moments they had cherished together. Emmy's act of friendship and compassion not only helped Mr. Thompson find solace in his grief, but he also found a newfound purpose. He decided to volunteer at a local retirement home, and he shared his wisdom and his love with the elderly residents, and they were equally touched by his warmth and compassion. Emmy's compassion brought joy and comfort to Mr. Thompson, but also inspired others to embrace compassion in their own way. The ripple effect of her selfless act spread through the city, and it ignited a chain reaction of compassion and empathy among its inhabitants. So, Emmy's small gesture sparked this wave of love and understanding, and it touched a lot of lives, and it left a mark on that city. I love in chapter 16 of A Course in Miracles, it talks about true empathy. Here's what it says. To empathize does not mean to join in suffering, for that is what you must refuse to understand. That is the ego's interpretation of empathy, and is always used to form a special relationship in which the suffering is shared. True empathy allows us to know the wholeness of the other person, to know that Spirit is guiding them through their life, to know that perhaps what they're going through becomes clearer to them as they ask Spirit for guidance through it. With true empathy, we transcend judgment and we enter a space of profound understanding. We recognize the wholeness of the other person, the completeness. It opens our eyes to the experiences of those whose paths may differ from our own. It bridges the gaps that divide us, and it fosters an appreciation for the diversity of this human tapestry of which we're a part. This brings up another bit of wisdom from the Dalai Lama. When we are motivated by compassion and wisdom, the results of our actions benefit everyone, not just our individual selves or some immediate convenience. When we are able to recognize and forgive ignorant acts of the past, we gain strength to constructively solve the problems of the present. Wow. We gain strength to constructively solve the problems of the present. One of my favorite pages of the book is the point where the boy and the horse are resting along their journey to find home. And they have this conversation. What do you do when our hearts hurt? Asked the boy. And the horse responds, we wrap them with friendship, shared tears and time, till they make hopeful and happy again. Is that not what compassion is all about? Wrapping our hearts when they hurt with friendship and shared tears. Allowing ourselves to move through those difficult times with the support of friends. The great poet Rumi said this: "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." As we dismantle these barriers, we open ourselves to the boundless reservoir of compassion and empathy that are within us. So today, let's embark on a journey of compassion and empathy. A journey that leads us to a world where every heart is embraced, every soul is seen, every voice is heard. And the world, it'll be transformed forever by the compassionate and empathetic spirit that resides within each of us and is expressed freely. So in summary, how might you be more compassionate and empathetic on your life's journey? Well, choose to be compassionate and express empathy. Acknowledge our shared experiences. Put yourself in someone else's shoes and help out. Embrace no one left behind. Do what you can to uplift every day at least one person. Be like Emmy and befriend someone in need. Don't just sympathize, empathize. Go beyond sympathy and express true empathy. Know each person's wholeness and send them love. And take the horse's advice when someone's heart hurts. Wrap them with friendship, share tears and time till they make hopeful and happy again. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so easily and willingly make the choice today to be compassionate, to notice how I am reacting to things, and to support others while knowing their wholeness? And your challenge for the week? Pause each day to ask yourself how you might show compassion. Who needs to be wrapped in love today? And it may be yourself. Then check in at night and just see what you discovered about yourself that day with regards to compassion and empathy. Let's pray. We take a deep, nourishing breath. And we just breathe in this lesson, knowing that compassion and empathy live right within us and are just waiting for us to totally activate them and create that ripple effect. So what I know for each of us that we are noticing when someone is lonely or sad, and we are intervening in a positive way to let them know that we care. So I am grateful for all of these acts of compassion that are occurring because we as a community are reaching out. And it's from that gratitude that I release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing the truth that right where we are, God is. And that the divine has already called this good, already said yes. So we don't need to effort or to work at it. It's already done. So knowing that to be the case, I say amen, and together we affirm it. And so it is. And I appreciate all the offertory money that is coming in. I hope that you will just continue to support us on this journey that we have and allow us to continue to have fabulous music and bring you messages, not only from myself, but from other ministers. Enjoy our offertory song.